The year is 1987. Square's Final Fantasy was released in Japan, I turned 3, Hustler magazine went to the Supreme Court, and, most importantly, the show 21 Jump Street came out on television. The show, which presumably made Johnny Depp famous before he became Tim Burton's boyfriend, where a group of young-looking undercover officers investigate youth crimes in high schools or the occasional college. Now, I probably would have cared about this show while it was on if I wasn't a toddler and more focused on infinitely more interesting shows like Sesame Street, Fraggle Rock, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, with no emotional attachment to the show, I had nothing to compare the idea of a 21 Jump Street comedy movie against. In fact, I doubt I would have even known the movie was based on a show if not for a few random people on Facebook whining, "How dare they make such a great show a bad comedy movie?" A little presumptuous, perhaps, though history has shown that movie remakes of old television shows to be a shaky venture at best. The stars of 21 Jump Street are Jonah Hill, who plays the quirky nerd Schmidt, turned semi-failed officer of the law, and Channing Tatum, who plays the adorably dumb jock Jenko, turned semi-failed officer of the law that every girlfriend, wife, some guys, and your mom will be drooling over every time he doesn't have a shirt on, or if he's just standing there. Jonah, who has been in many well-known comedies in the last few years, not to mention a few unfortunate duds, rocks this role and takes not only some executive producer credit, but co-wrote the story alongside Michael Bacall, who co-wrote the Project X and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World screenplays. Then there's Channing Tatum, who, well, he tends to bore me as an actor. I could care less for all of the step-up flicks that he was in, and he was incredibly dull as Duke in the G.I. Joe movie. He honestly surprised me in this movie, however, and actually made me interested in him as an actor. If he gets more roles like this, I might actually consider seeing a movie for the simple reason that he's in it. But what really matters with a comedy? Oh yeah, is it funny? Yes. God, yes. Not only was it funny, but it was the first movie since Paul, or possibly Horrible Bosses, that had me laughing so hard my stomach was hurting. Not only does it execute excellently as a comedy, we see strong characters with good character development throughout the movie, and a good sense of drama when necessary, action, and it's fun. The fact is, this movie is stupidly unoriginal, and really has no reason to exist. And it knows this. It's based on a random television show from the late 80s that few modern audiences even knew existed, or at least remembered. One character even goes so far as to point out how stupid it is to bring back old programs from the 80s. Now, there are a few strikes against 21 Jump Street, unfortunately, though they're mainly just nitpicks on my part. The most glaring issue for me has to be the occasional groan moments that occur, not because of the main characters, but rather the supporting characters that they interact with, mostly the high schoolers. At times, I couldn't tell if their acting was an accurate representation of high schoolers today, especially the super hipster personas, or if some of them were just trying too hard or overacting to portray the cool kids. The other gripe I have is that we're introduced to a character near the beginning that is essentially a combination of multiple stereotypes for the purpose of a one-off physical gag. And while that gag does have lasting repercussions throughout the rest of the movie, the character himself is almost completely dismissed afterward. Now, any other potential strikes against this movie would fall more into an area of personal preference for many people. The movie does include a fair amount of vulgarity. Okay, a lot of vulgarity. There's violence, and one scene in particular has an obscene amount of blood compared to the rest of the movie. But in the end, these are par for the course because it's a rated R buddy cop movie that just so happens to be a hilarious and well done comedy. Now, if you're in the mood for a good time and want to be surprised by a movie that is so much better than it really has any right to be, you need to see 21 Jump Street.
Do you even know the Miranda rights?
Look, it obviously starts with, do you have the right to remain an attorney?
Did you say you have the right to be an attorney?
You do have the right to be an attorney if you want to.
I give 21 Jump Street 9 publicly discharged firearms out of 10. This is Papa Ken, and I'll see you next review.